Welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm your host, Eitan Berger. From a young age, Israeli-born Na'ami Gottlieb was always drawn to the flute. Now, living in South Africa, Na'ami performs with local bands with her flute and as a vocalist. Today, we chat with her about her passion for this beautiful, angelic instrument.
When we're young, we, in a very organic way, find what we love. We find what speaks to us, and we find where our heart is, and what we just are drawn to. And then people put all sorts of ideas in our head about what we should study, and what we should get a degree in, and where we should go, and what we need to do with our lives. And that probably gets in the way of what you organically knew that you loved when you were young. And luckily, I stumbled upon getting a degree in what I loved, completely by mistake, and that threw me into the river of music, and I'm so happy that that's what I do with my life, because I just love it, and I always have. I fell in love with a South African, and we came here for a few years, which ended up being more than a few years. And I have to say that South Africa feels wide open musically. I feel like there's a lot of room for me and my music here. I come from Israel, where the industry is smaller because the country is smaller. And I think it's a little bit more difficult to find a space for yourself musically there. It takes more years, more effort, possibly more elbowing your way up. And in South Africa, there's a warmth and an openness to anybody with something of their own to share. And I'm really enjoying that about South Africa. Flute is the main instrument that I play, and I also sing. So those are the two avenues of music that I'm mostly involved in. I chose flute when I was 6, but they didn't let me play flute when I was 6. I had to wait until I was 9, so I started on the recorder. And the flute has got a spirit to it. It's got the voice of the spirit in a way, and I guess as a child that just spoke to me, and kind of that's kind of what remained. I think that of all instruments, the flute might resemble the most a human voice or a human song. It's got a fluidity to it and a softness and an air that feels like it's coming from inside the body. Other instruments also come from inside the body, woodwind instruments in particular, but they've got another sort of sound that's attached to them, that comes with them, a strength or a personality. And flute, I find, is just beautiful, and I guess that's why I was drawn to it, I think. It was a long time ago. A lot of the music that I play is Jewish music. I often struggle to find connection in the traditional prayers, in words that I didn't write that need to be my prayer, in laws and behaviors that are religious sort of practice, because sometimes they're so technical that the spirituality is lacking from them, or feels like it's lacking from them. And music, which is probably true for any religion, is like a direct channel to the spiritual part and to the spiritual connection with the divine, with God, with the world. And I love it. I love it that I can access that sort of spirituality so easily through my instrument, and that I don't necessarily have to break down the words or break down the reasons for a certain Jewish law in order to feel connected. I can just sing about it and experience it.
Singer and flautist Na'ami Gottlieb has been performing for most of her adult life. Her connection to her music is evident in her performances, but that's not all she's passionate about.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
My friends who I sing with often tell me that when I'm singing a popular song, I sing it well or whatever, but when I'm singing a Jewish song, it's like there's a fire lighting up in my face, and they can see the difference on how connected I am to the songs that are spiritual and related to my culture and my religious background, as opposed to just any song.
Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again.
I had an experience a few days ago where I had to sing a song, and I practiced singing it as well as I could, and until I thought I was singing it pretty well. And then my friend said to me, "But now sing it with your heart, sing it with emotion." And I went home and I had to allow for all sorts of feelings to come up that were buried away for a long time, that were related to what I was singing about. And it became a whole self-healing and self-therapy session that I had with myself that evening, trying to bring up the emotions that the song asked for and allowing them to be there, and then processing them and then feeding them into the song every time I sang it afterwards. And it was eye-opening and very, very healing for me.
Living in the heart of an African town today.
I'm open to all genres. I like playing sort of popular music as well, and a bit of rocky flute. That's usually not the Jewish stuff, that's the more popular music. But in the Jewish music, anything from nigunim to, Simcha music, to spiritual, inspirational music, things that come from North African background, Israeli stuff, and then just the sort of universal Jewish tunes that are popular today as well.
Say hello to some friends whose names I never quite knew how to say. And I'm crying inside, my heart's open wide. Is there anyone will not come?
Well, when I'm playing certain music that I feel in a certain way, I try to bring that feeling into the way that I'm playing it, in the hope that it will pass through to the listeners and that they will experience that feeling as well. That same kind of inspiration or emotional moment. Yeah, depending on, of course, what the music is.
Is there anyone who will not come home?
One of the things I started doing recently is teach music to nursery school. And I kind of got the job by mistake. I'm subbing for a friend of mine who had a baby. But it's a whole new world which I am thoroughly enjoying. These children are thirsty to learn something that's real, to learn something that they can understand completely. And I find that they really understand what I'm teaching them. They feel the rhythms in their bodies, they feel the music. They're really connected to music, and they sit there with their eyes wide open and their mouths open like this. And they actually just drink up everything that I'm teaching them. And of course, it's simple things because they're young, but they love it. And I love how they love it. And I love giving them this gift from such a young age. And I wish that I had that when I was so young. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to connect with little people and just feed them music as it is. And they're so ready to soak it up.
Rabbi Simon Jacobson lives in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. He is a devoted follower of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Jacobson believes that it is his mission in life to spread spirituality. Today, in a new Simcha mini-series, Jacobson teaches us how the world is not just for us to take, but instead for our protection and elation.
I was once asked by a vegetarian who, of course, doesn't eat meat, why is it that Jews not just consume meat, but it's also a mitzvah, it's a good deed, Shabbat and holidays. Taking of a life in order to consume it for our own sustenance. In truth, from a Jewish perspective, from a Torah perspective, every aspect of existence is sacred. So I reversed the question and said to this fellow, I said, let me ask you something. What right do you have to eat vegetables and fruits? They also exist and they have their own trajectory and their own life. Just because you're not shedding blood, you may be causing them other pain. Who knows? Who knows the personal secret life of vegetables? Maybe they have their own families and they communicate in their own little way. What right do you have to tear down a tree or a fruit to sustain yourself? And for that matter, the same question can be asked about mineral. What right do you have to take a mineral in your mouth? It also has its life. You're destroying it in order to sustain yourself. So, of course, his response was, well, then how would we live? So I said, 1 second. If it's justified, it's justified. If it's not, it's not. You know? So let me give you my answer, I told him. And from a Torah point of view, the truth is, as I said, we have no right to consume anything because everything is sacred. The only right we have to consume it is because we improve and elevate it to a higher level. So let me explain. There's an interesting question asked in the Talmud. That in the Bible we find that Adam and Eve, first man and woman, were created last. After God created the entire universe, he created Adam and Eve. So the question is asked, why? Why did he create them last? And the Talmud gives two seemingly contradictory answers. The first answer it gives is because when you invite a special guest to a table, first you set the table, then you invite the guest. So what God does, he set the table, and then he brought his crown jewel, the human being, to the table, to the world. The second reason given is the exact opposite reason. It says that should a human being transgress and behave in an inappropriate way, he's told, who do you think you are? Don't feel you're so special, because even the lowly insect, a mosquito, was created before you. So obviously, which one is it? Are we a crown jewel or are we lower than an insect? And the answer is also obvious based on how we behave. So the bottom line is we have a very profound and intimate relationship with the world around us. We either protect it and refine it, or we destroy it. And you see today the controversies about the environment, about animal extinction, about all kinds of other ways of how we behave with the world around us. From a Torah Jewish point of view, we have no right to this world. This is a divine world. God created a world just like he created us, and we have no right to touch anything. There's a very beautiful story that really always touched me whenever I hear it. It was one of the Hasidic Rebbes was walking with his child, a young boy, in the garden. And they were having a conversation, and the little boy ripped off a leaf from a tree and began to rub it. You know, like many times we do. We just take a leaf and we just, between our fingers, we rub it and we demolish it. And his father reprimanded him and said, what right did you have to take a leaf away from its life and destroy it for no reason at all? Which actually indicates in Jewish thought there's an actual prohibition of destroying any part of this universe. Not because we're nice people, but because it's a sacred world. What right do we have to touch any part of creation? God gave us a gift. What right do you have to touch it? There's actually an interesting law in Jewish thought, in Jewish law, and that is you're not allowed to self-mutilate. You're not allowed to hurt yourself. So you could argue, who cares if I'm not allowed to hurt someone else? Fine. But I'm only hurting myself. No one else is around because you don't own yourself. Your body is not yours. Imagine someone giving you a gift and then you mutilate the gift and say, here, I'll give it back to you. Your body is God's property, given to you for protection and your stewardship, to use it for good reasons. So when we take that attitude, then everything in life takes on a whole different type of meaning. It means every step we take, every person we encounter, every object we interact with has two choices. Are you going to elevate it to a higher state of being, or are you going to use it for selfish purposes? Just to give an example, a person's walking in a field, it's a hot day, and he sees this juicy apple on a tree, and becomes really thirsty and hungry and wants to take this apple off the tree and eat it. So there's a few options. You can either just grab grab the apple off the tree and just indulge and consume it, and then go on and let's say even, God forbid, hurt somebody. So you've taken this apple and now made it a partner in your crime, which obviously the apple then can come to a complaint to you and say, what right did you have to take me off this tree where I was living quietly, not hurting anyone, and now you made me part of your life. I'm now sustaining you, and you've used that sustenance to hurt another human being. So you've actually not just hurt another person, you've also hurt the apple, so to speak. Or you have option two, which is you take the apple and with humility and gentleness, you make a blessing on it, you acknowledge this is not your apple, and you take the energy you receive from the apple, sustenance, and you do a good deed, and you help somebody. Then the apple can thank you and say, you know, when I was on the tree, I wasn't hurting anyone, but I also wasn't helping anyone. And now you've helped me become part of your mitzvah, part of your good deeds, part of your positivity. This is how we look at the world around us, and this is how Judaism teaches us to think. Not just with people, even mineral, vegetable, and animal. They're only here for us to either elevate, or then you have no right to touch it. And imagine if you have that attitude to a leaf on a tree, what kind of attitude you'll have to another human being. So it's being this deep sensitivity of recognizing that we are not self-made. The world is not just there for our indulgence. It's there for our protection and, even more so, for our elevation. And we have the ability, every step we take in this world, every breath we take, we have the ability to elevate, refine, and bring the world to a better and greater place.
Today in our series, Teachings on the Torah Scrolls, Rabbi Avtzon talks about the significance of the Torah cover, gartel or waistband, and breastplate that adorns the Torah.
The Torah scroll, when it's not in use on the bima, is covered in a cloth, a beautiful cloth. Very often you'll see the tablets on the cloth, and very often you'll see a lion. Lion, the Lion of Judah, lion symbolizes courage, the king of the jungle. The Torah is our courage, it's our confidence. It's what kept us alive for so long, because any way to study Jewish history will come to one conclusion. What kept us alive till today is our manual for living, our clarity of where we are heading. Yes, there are many details that might have helped, but where we're heading is through the Torah. During the month of Tishrei, which is the holiest month of the year, the month of Rosh Hashanah, everything is changed. All the cloths, the cover on the ark are all changed from whatever color they are. Usually they're green, red, blue. Everything becomes white. White symbolizes newness, freshness, because it's the first month of the year that we have atonement, and we start anew for the new year. And that white symbolizes it's so fresh, start again. And that's why you'll walk into the shul on Rosh Hashanah, and very often you won't recognize it because all the colors are gone, and all you see is white. In the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, which stood about 2,000 years ago, there was a person, the holiest person in the place, who was called the Kohen Gadol, a high priest. he had a very, very special outfit with 8 different parts to the outfit. One of the parts of the outfit was called the choshen, the breastplate. On it, it had 12 very precious stones from all over the world, and each stone had the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, most people today don't have or can't afford the 12 stones, but very often if you see a Torah, you'll see on top of everything, they'll put something which reminds us of that breastplate, something with 12 little, either simpler stones, or just the shape of a stone to remind us about the breastplate of Aharon. Around each Torah scroll is a gartel. A gartel wraps around the Torah scroll. It keeps it intact. The Torah scroll is a very, very big scroll, and if it's not kept intact, unfortunately, it could get a bit ruined and stretched. So therefore, we wrap it around. When a Torah scroll is invalidated for whatever reason and needs fixing, that gartel will go around the whole scroll, including the covering, for people to know that the Torah scroll currently is out of use. A Torah scroll, you'll see when people pick it up, they pick it up by 2 sticks, wooden sticks called atzei chaim, sticks of life. That's the way we pick it up so that everybody can see the Torah scroll. Usually it will be waved around so that everybody could look at it. It's also the sticks around which the whole scroll wraps around, because otherwise what grasps it? It's usually a very long stick, depending on the size of the Torah scroll. Sometimes the edges of it will be covered in silver, and then that Torah scroll won't really have a crown because the silver is already on the atzei chaim. Torah scrolls come in all different sizes. Some of them are very light, and literally even a young person who's not that strong could pick up, and some of them are very heavy. The Torah scroll also gets rolled from side to side throughout the year. So at the beginning of the year, all the weight of the Torah scrolls on the left hand. So if you give it to a righty and he's picking up a heavy scroll, it's not going to do that well. By the end of the year, it's all on the right and not on the left. So therefore, sometimes you'll see in a shul, when somebody who people don't really trust is strong enough to pick up the Torah scroll, you'll see everybody standing on the side, hovering, making sure that it actually doesn't fall down, because it's quite a heavy thing. People will do their exercise just to get Hagba. Hagba is a great honor, to pick up the Torah scroll. After the Torah scroll is picked up, the person then sits down with the Torah scroll, and somebody else will come and get the honor of Gelila. Gelila will be to wrap it up, put a gartel around the Torah scroll, put the covering, the crown, and whatever adornments that Torah scroll has. Once again, a great honor.
In today's quote from Pirkei Avot, we focus on Rabbi Hillel, who said, "If I am not for myself, who is for me? And if I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this week's episode of Simcha. As always, it's been a pleasure to have you join us. If you'd like to be in touch, please find us on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions and drop us a line. From myself, Eitan Berger, and the whole team here at Simcha, have a great week and goodbye.